Welcome back to the show. We're about to learn the secret sauce. Yeah, what's up, Rizel? Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So you had mentioned off camera, third time in the Bay Area.
Yeah, the first time was when Code 2040 brought me. They had this thing called a tech trek. And it was essentially like taking like Black and brown underrepresented individuals and showing them tech companies. And that was like when I was like, ooh, I think I want to work in tech, but I don't know. And it was really cool because I got to see LinkedIn and I'm like, they got different types of water. They got rose water.
Spa water. Yeah, that's the thing. LinkedIn's got a pretty killer bar on the top. Actually, here's some secret sauce.
Okay.
I don't have a co-working space or anything like that, but we don't have an office in San Francisco. So on 2nd and is it Harrison, wherever the LinkedIn building, the first floor is like it's an open space. So San Francisco requires any skyscrapers that have open space for the community to hang out in.
So you'd be working in there.
Yeah, so it's almost like a library because not a lot of people know about it.
Okay.
So it's free Wi-Fi.
Okay.
There used to be a coffee shop pre-COVID there. And there's a bathroom. Yeah. So
perfect.
Yeah. So it's like pretty quiet. I spent actually a couple weeks ago, I spent like a day working there before doing
I
meetings.
didn't know they had that.
Yeah. Salesforce Tower as well. So there's like between the terminal, there's like a green space. That's their requirement to build a building in San Francisco.
Boston needs that.
Yeah.
We got to go until we work.
Well, anyway, yeah. So secret sauce, we actually talk with open source maintainers, founders, and contributors. Yeah. And you've done a lot. Like you've been part of, what's the program you were mentoring in?
I did G-Code.
G-Code, that's what it was. Yeah.
I wouldn't say mentoring. I was like leading it.
You leading it. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to under level you.
Yeah, I built the curriculum and everything.
Okay.
I was leading it.
Yeah. So there's a lot we want to talk to, but you already alluded to Code 2040. So I want to talk about your sort of inbound on-ramp into tech. So you have a CS degree, right?
Yeah, I do have a computer science degree.
Yeah, which you got after the fact, right?
Yeah, when I was working as a software engineer. Yeah, I did a lot of things. So it was
you stay doing stuff. Like the one thing I love the fact. So for disclosure, Rizel works on the DevRel team at GitHub. I hired her and she joined the team that I was running, and I hired you and like you just hit the ground running right away. So like going back to your on ramp. So how did you decide you want to be a software engineer?
I think once I told you this like a long time ago, but basically I started college and didn't have enough money to continue. And I was studying psychology and I was like, okay, this doesn't like, I'm like, if I don't have money, I'm not going to be able to like get a grad degree and stuff like that. So I was like, let me just scratch all this. And then I spent a little gap year trying to explore. It was a lot of me just Googling. And I was like, oh, tech keeps popping up. Seems like there's money in it.
That's an understatement. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but what kept me is like I started in 2016 at an IT internship. And they made me feel like I was mad smart and like really good. Like they gave me a best employee award. I'm like,
so IT as in like you were setting up
computers,
laptops?
Setting up people's accounts, stuff like that. I think they had like this plan to set up, like switch the whole company to Windows 8 within a year or something like that, and I did it in like 3 months.
Oh wow!
So I was just like, I just get bored and want to do stuff.
Yeah, real go-getter. Yeah.
So after that, I had discovered like Code 2040 and Hackdiversity, and because I was working at a bank, and I was like, there's a lot of like, it was great there, but I felt like within those couple of months, I learned everything I needed to know, and I was like, maybe if I work at like a real tech company, like it'll push me more.
What's real tech?
Like Google or something.
Wow. Okay.
Like it was a bank.
Yeah.
So it was Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston. So it was a bank for banks. And they were really good to me, but I'm like, I feel like there was like a peak that I can't hit.
Definitely a ceiling at I get what real tech is, but I just wanted you to explain that.
Okay.
But definitely a ceiling because in San Francisco you got like Pinterest and Airbnb and Eventbrite and GitHub and Google.
Yeah.
Like those, it's a different experience, like when folks are using like cutting edge technology and using Git and all this other stuff, which I believe Git's still cutting edge. I don't know. We just had Replit on, so or Amjad, so maybe you don't need Git. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think we'll see. But yeah, I wanted to like figure out what like other tech companies were doing to make sure I could push myself. So that's when I signed up for Code 2040 because they were like free trip to San Francisco. I was like, okay. And people thought I was signing up for a scam, especially.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Derek's family. They were like, why would you take a free trip? They're like, that's
wild though. I mean, but it's interesting because I had this very similar experience when I was doing a boot camp back in 2013. I had like folks who knew me and was like, I don't know if you really want to pay, like learn how to code. You're not gonna get a job from that. Nah. And like honestly, I wasn't trying to get a job. I was just trying to build my own project. Yeah. And I did it. Like despite like all the sort of reservations, and then it opened up like an entire world. Doors for you, and like it's the analogy of like in San Francisco when you fly in during this time, there's like always fog. Yeah. So like you don't know what you don't know until the plane goes below the fog, and you can like see that. But also there's a whole other world above the fog. Yeah. And I think a lot of folks will. Sorry, I'm like preaching, but a lot of folks will create that sort of fog as a ceiling, or be like, free trip to San Francisco for Code 2040. What is that? Yeah. But in reality, it's like in partnership with the Obama Foundation and all this other stuff. Like, did you mention that at all?
I didn't even know that.
Okay.
I just saw the program, and I'm like, I really do want to figure out about tech. So like what your description was, it did open a lot of like doors for me and open my eyes. I'm like, wow, this is how tech people are living. Like they get massages on site and stuff like that.
GitHub used to have one. Unfortunately, pre-COVID, like obviously we had to say goodbye to the masseuse during the COVID times. But yeah, it's wild too as well, because like you could like the GitHub office. What's your experience? Beautiful,
looks great.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, it's a tech office. Like it you can just get whatever watermelon water or LaCroix or whatever.
It was almost hard to find still water.
There's a dispenser. It's next to the coffee.
I was like, where's the still water? I've been drinking cucumber water for.
But so you missed out because pre-renovations there was like a gym in the office. And there was like, there was I don't know if there was a spa. There wasn't a spa. It was just regular showers. But anyway, I used to lift weights in the middle of the day.
Crazy.
In the GitHub office because like, why not? Like, I don't need a gym membership.
Yeah.
Even though GitHub pays for the gym membership.
Dang. Well, I guess even though I missed that, I did kind of get that at HubSpot. Like through Hack Diversity, I got to do.
Okay, well, hold on. I didn't even know you worked at HubSpot. I knew you worked at HubSpot, but we haven't even got to that point.
Oh, sorry.
Code 2040. You did the program. You said yes. You flew out.
Well, it was just a tech trek. Like they have like two different programs. Like one where they help people get internships, and then one which was just traveling.
Traveling and introduce yourself to companies that are hiring. Yeah. Okay, so you did that.
Yeah.
And did you apply? Actually, part of that lore is you visited GitHub.
Yeah, I visited GitHub. I think that is where I saw the massage thing. I'm like,
you saw the original office.
Yeah. I'm like, this is so cool. Snapchat came to us and they had us like do like a little competition, and whoever won the competition got an internship. Clearly, I didn't win.
Okay, that's very Netflix reality show, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
On brand for Snapchat.
It was cool though. And I think after that, I was like, yeah, I definitely have to work at like a cool tech company. So that's when I like applied to Hack Diversity. It was like, it's kind of like Code 2040, but for Boston, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I got an internship at HubSpot.
As an engineer, or did you IT again?
I did a data analyst internship, and then I did IT internship.
That's how you know your SQL.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I know
Sorry,
SQL.
just like working with you for almost a year.
Yeah.
I remember you'd help out with some SQL stuff for the Star site.
I don't know if I really helped that much.
You basically confirmed that the entire project was broken. That's what I needed at the time. Okay. Is to get someone else with a little bit more knowledge to tell me it's not me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I was using SQL a little bit, and then once that data analyst internship was ending, I was like, ooh, I still want to stay here. And I saw they had an IT internship, so I was like, I'll just apply to that so I could stay here. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So yeah, more IT, and then where did Resilient Coders come into this?
Yeah, Resilient Coders came right after HubSpot, because I think, like I said again, like I was like, okay, cool, IT's cool. I'm getting to learn a little bit more at HubSpot, but I still felt like there was still a ceiling. And I was talking to a lot of engineers, and they were using words like APIs. Like part of my data analyst job was like I had to use SQL on the data, but I didn't understand how to get the data into a database, or like how to, like I was like, I don't understand how this part worked. Like I just knew how to like read the values. So that's when I started getting interested, and I was like on Free Code Camp, and I kept sending Free Code Camp to Derek too, because he said his job was boring. So
and
like,
Derek's your partner as well. We alluded to Derek. It's funny because we're so familiar with each other that we're not really explaining a lot of this lore. But
Derek's my partner. And then while I was looking up Free Code Camp, I did see like Free Coding Bootcamp, Resilient Coders pop up. And I was like, ooh, I want to do this.
Wow. I mean, you lucked out being in Boston. I mean, Boston's it's a bit of a hub for tech. Like a lot of Ruby on Rails agencies, and there's a lot of agencies in Boston as well.
Yeah.
So definitely a good spot to sort of find yourself, because you're from Boston, right?
Yeah. I lived in Boston most of my life. Yeah. I did look out. It's not like San Francisco, but there's opportunity.
San Francisco's, I mean, it's like a wonderland about opportunity. Like so going back to that LinkedIn little lore of like free space and Salesforce, the tower.
Yeah.
There's also the AWS loft. So if you have like a startup, you can just sign up to get access to this co-working space.
What?
And it's free, and they have free food, and they have events. And so like I've got it down where I've got a lot. I was at NextConf last week.
Yeah.
I went to QCon 2 days later. I'll be at Jamstack Conf. And GitHub Universe.
Okay.
But to get a break or to like kill some time in between meetings or like dinners, I've got a space to go work out of. It's those 3 spaces.
That's so lucky. Okay, and wait, did you say KubeCon or QCon?
QCon, sorry.
Okay, because I always get confused with those.
QCon, the Kubernetes conference, that was actually the same time. But QCon is like a architect conference, I guess is how you sort of summarize it. Like folks who design infrastructure and cloud computing stuff. That's their conference. So I gave a talk about TRPC.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. But this is not about me. This is about you. So
sorry.
Resilient Coders, and this is Resilient Coders is really interesting. I think a lot of folks should definitely check this out. It's a great organization. Leon Noel, who folks might know from YouTube and from Twitch.
Yeah.
He does 100 devs.
Yeah.
And teaches folks how to code through live streams. Like, I don't know, it's like 10 weeks, 11 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
It's basically a boot camp, and it's like, you get in what you put in.
Yeah.
And I know like Sam, who's at Hashnode. I think he's at Mux now. He's a developer advocate. He got his first dev job by doing 100 devs. Yeah. And quite a few other people.
Sam.
Actually, one of our engineers did 100 devs Sunday,
really?
Agbana. So he was contributing to opensource, and he was going through the 100 devs as well. And I reached out and said, hey, why don't you come work with us?
Leon's an icon.
He is. Yeah, I definitely, if I make it out, is he in Boston or somewhere on the East Coast?
Yeah, he is in Boston.
Okay, yeah. If I ever make it out there, I definitely want to buy him a coffee or do whatever I can support him.
He's a really great teacher. And I do want to make sure that David Delmar gets his credit, because he's the one that created Resilient Coders, and then he brought in Leon to help with like teaching it as well.
Yeah, I had a quick conversation with David to see how, honestly, I was trying to see how we could support with we were doing Floss and Code through the Black Duck Cats. And so had a quick conversation with him to kind of explain what the goal was.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the time didn't work out. He had like some sort of vacation or something like that. But our remote Floss and Code experience, that's what we're trying to get Resilient Coders involved with.
That would have been awesome. What year was that? Maybe I could have.
That would have been the end of 2020.
Okay. No, I was already graduated. Yeah. I did Resilient Coders in 2018. It was like what you're saying with 100 devs. I think it's pretty much similar content.
Yeah.
It's valuable. It was intense though. Like.
Yeah. I mean, as it should be. Like you're setting yourself up to get a job.
Yeah.
In a career, really.
Yeah.
So did that. You got a dev job somewhere?
Yeah, I did that, and I got a dev internship, and then another dev internship, and then that dev internship converted me to full-time, and then I went to a different job. I don't know why I did that, but I got bored, and I was like, I want to go to a different job. So then I went to another dev job, and I learned a lot. Like I learned about DynamoDB and Twilio and stuff like that. Like, it was a startup, and a lot of us were junior, and they were just like, not do whatever you want, but they're like, here's this big project, do it. So that taught me a lot. Like, that really accelerated my skills, I think.
It could be dangerous, but also very empowering at the same time. So it's definitely sets you up for either failing quickly or succeeding quickly. And so, like, did you have a lot of direction, like through a PM or senior engineers? We had a few senior engineers. We had a scrum master and product manager. I would say it was a little bit of both. Like, I did fail a lot, but I think I got value out of that. Okay. I mean, you made it out the other end for sure. So I want to pivot into like the open source story, and how you got involved in open source. Obviously I know it, but did you want to explain your good first issue?
My good first issue was to open source.
Oh, thank you.
To your first project. And it happened because I applied to GitHub, and like my whole thing was like, I'd never contributed to open source before, but I did want to work with the team, and then like you kept encouraging me, like you're like, contribute, and you're like, check out my project. So I picked up your project, and it was a way better experience than I expected, because I heard a lot of negative stuff about open source like prior. Like, people were like, oh, it's mean, da-da-da, and I'm like, I've had enough of that in my career. I don't want to delve back into that. But
that's unfortunate that's the lore that I talked about. I tweeted this recently about how open source, the majority of it's about gaslighting someone to a contribution. So it's like, you didn't think of this, or you didn't read this, or you didn't do that, and then people are like, oh, I guess this is not for me. And like, I've had that, which is why I don't do that. And like, if that happens in the project, like, we have a code of conduct, and I fight to make sure that that's not the norm. So like, if someone's not happy with the solution, cool, we'll just type out, hey, this doesn't work out. Probably would have did this way, closing PR. And like, at least someone can learn from it, as opposed to like being berated of like, how do you not know what DynamoDB is, or how to run a SQL statement, or what React is, or how to use it properly. Like that, there's a lot of that in the industry, and I think it doesn't have to be that way. Like, we could set up people for success, and if you don't want contributions, make it a private repo.
I agree.
Free.
And I think you did a great job at that. I feel like it reignited my interest in coding.
Do you remember what your first contribution was?
I made the drop down.
That's right. For the user profile. And we use that same pattern in every other project now.
Yay. That's great.
I mean, it was something, it was, honestly, I don't know if it was trivial for you, but it was trivial for me to do.
No.
But my whole thing about good first issues is that it should be trivial. So if it's something I could do really quickly, I'm going to tell you how to do it in the issue. And then I'm going to hand it to somebody who's like waiting for their next shot. And it's like so I played sports in high school. I played wide receiver, and in high school, everyone's tall and skinny. Like, it's a given. So everyone plays wide receiver. So the way the coach, our school didn't have fancy mics to go run plays in. So you take a wide receiver, you run the play in, and tell them, hey, it's a post 63 route or whatever. You run the play in, and that's how you get in. So if you want to play in the game, you stand next to the coach. Like, that's how it's done.
You with the sports analogies.
And if you want to play in the game of open source, you stand next to the project maintainers or the people contributing, and eventually they'll pull you in and be like, hey, I've got this thing. I'm going to get on a plane to go talk at a conference. Could you work on this?
No, I think that is what happened, because I think my struggle before is I didn't know how to get in contact with the other maintainers when I needed help. I joined the Discord. I'm like, I don't know how to use this. So I would just abandon it. But it was easy to get in contact with you, obviously, because I was going to work at GitHub. And then 2, like you said, the issue is pretty easy to me. Like, you explained it all. I'm like, cool, I know React. It took me like 2 hours or something like that, and I was like, okay, cool, and I pushed it up. I'm like, wow, open source is way easier than I thought.
It is. And unfortunately, like, some other project can be a little harder to understand the back, like the story, and a lot of times you learn the project as it grows. So like, I know React, and I used to know the React code base pretty well. I haven't looked at it in a long time, but because I've known React since the early days, I could probably swim in that pretty easily. But a lot of other projects, like if you're coming in 10 years later, it's like, oh, I don't know where to start. I don't know how this got started. And the challenge is that most projects, as they start dying, like it dies with whoever the maintainer or the last people in are. And it's very hard to like share that information because not everyone's a teacher. Not everyone is a developer advocate or some sort of
everyone's a teacher.
community manager. So, but a lot of people can write code and a lot of people can open a repo on GitHub. So the difference is like, I think really educating companies and maintainers on how do you set up your project for success. And that good first issue thing is a thing that I keep sort of beating the drum on because I think I 100% confident if everyone put answers in good first issues, it'd be clear on how to get started. And those answers should lead into their second first issue or their good second issue.
No, I agree with that. I've been like telling, like using what you said and telling people about it in my talks. Cause like you were such a like on line 70. You want to do this. I'm like, okay, that's easy. I could do that.
And it's the same thing. If you were an engineer on my team, like I would tell you how to solve the problem. Maybe I don't know the problem, but I can tell you enough information on how I would approach it or what I would Google or what Stack Overflow question got me to open this issue. If it was a bug, like I try to have like some sort of answer that's close to solving it, or I just don't know and it's not a good first issue. So like remove the label. But yeah, we're very intentional about that because in the open source Discord, like we have the good first issue channel. So anybody who installs like the GitHub app on their repo, like we get notified of good first issues specifically there. So the hope is that we eventually encourage more projects to do good first issues and install the integration.
Come on, projects, you got this. Like,
yeah,
I agree.
But I mean, I'm happy to. And we recently just actually my Open Source Friday interview with you on the GitHub channel went up like a couple weeks ago. And it was good timing because we had shipped all that stuff I had talked about, and all the story was there for people to follow up with it. But at the end of the day, like I personally want to get your story out there more that people can share and like understand. Open source is approachable. Make sure you find a good first repo. As opposed like, and I think good first repo is a tag that should.
It should, because it is hard to find. Like I know they have like those aggregators and stuff like that, but sometimes it's just like, I don't know. It can be confusing.
It like repositories that are approachable for beginners. It's like a whole nother segment, and I get that it would help. Honestly, so this is all my opinion, but the community, if people stop going to React and try to make their first contribution to React, a lot of people are qualified. Like you came in the industry with like a lot of qualifications. Like you had customer support, you worked in IT, you had dev jobs, and now you're an advocate, which is a really good combo of like where you are career wise. And I think a lot of people have very similar contributions they can make. So like even non-code contributions, like organizing docs or organizing structure of folders, or maybe even like setting up a Doppler with keys and stuff like that. Like it's a bit of like more DevOps when you're setting up like private keys, but even like managing a Discord, like how do we get conversation going? How do we set up a flag and say, hey, this is where we ask questions, or we rather you go on Stack Overflow. How do you divert that traffic? I feel like a lot of repos maybe aren't thinking about that. I mean, I guess I seen a bit more of that for Hacktoberfest when they were like, what is it? Encouraging, like non-code contributions. Like I've seen people being like, oh, we want you to like help with translations and stuff like that. Like I do think those are like easy ins. Yeah, for sure. So you're now contributing to open source. Irregularly, consistently. Like, what projects are you contributing now?
I've contributed to yours. I've contributed to Virtual Coffee. And I've contributed to AstroDocs. That's like my biggest contribution.
Okay.
Yeah. And for AstroDocs, I noticed that like GitHub came out with like the pages running on actions thing. And they were using like an older action flow on AstroDocs. They're like, oh, here's how to use GitHub Actions. I'm like, or we use the new one.
And that's the type of expertise you can bring into a project. And like honestly, like Astro, they wouldn't have been paying attention that closely, or maybe they missed a change log on new things, but also that GitHub action was a community action. So who knows where it is, but like you providing your expertise and like, hey, I work at GitHub. I help talk about the product itself. So like, would you mind this contribution? And that opened up the gate. Like, are you shipping any Astro projects on the side?
Yeah, I've been messing around with Astro a little bit. Nothing big, like maybe for like small demos for talks and stuff like that. But hopefully November and December, I can take some time to actually like work on something cool.
Yeah, and speaking of cool, I'm curious if like what you and the team are working at GitHub.
Oh, good questions. Let me see. We've been working. Well, I've been working a lot on Copilot, obviously. What else have we been working on?
GitHub Universe is going to be. I mean, by the time this comes out, it'll be after Universe.
Yeah.
But,
we're
probably worth checking
GitHub
out the keynote, right?
Yes, check out the keynote. Check out. If you're in person, I have a demo stage talk and I have a pre-recording talk. So yeah, check out those. Yeah, and everyone's just doing a bunch of talks right now. We're very into GitHub Universe. We're gonna have like cool badges. Obviously, this is gonna come out after, so you'll already see.
You probably have to check out Twitter then.
Yeah,
I'm sure people will take pictures of it.
Yeah, we're gonna have cool things. Yeah, my brain is only Universe right now, so we are doing other stuff, but I'm not remembering them. Oh, I'm helping with All In a bit. Yeah, since they're gonna have like a new
doing
cohort.
Interviews again.
Yeah.
And we talked off camera about All In.
Yeah.
But could you give a pitch for All In and what it is?
Oh, okay. Let me see if I got this. Okay, All In is a program that's like being run in partnership with like GitHub and Red Hat, and it's enabling people or folks from underrepresented communities that like are currently enrolled in college to get exposure to open source and technology. So like for the first couple of weeks, they like introduce them to like what is GitHub, what is open source, how to navigate it, and then on the last couple of weeks, they land an internship.
Yeah,
I hope that was good enough.
Yeah. So I believe is applications open for folks to apply?
Yes, applications are open. If you go on GitHub's Twitter or All In's Twitter, you will see like the whole flyer, and they got like a little QR code that you can scan.
Okay, excellent. So allinopensource.org, I believe is the URL, and also All In Open Source, the Twitter account.
Yeah.
And I just want to shout out that we did have All In Open Source interns over the summer who helped triage the Hot Open Sauce Pizza project. So great experience. And they sort of, and I was talking off camera, they were injecting energy into our project like over the summer in July. So highly recommend if you are maybe in an underrepresented college and institution, HBCU, you more than likely qualify. And if you think you might qualify, just go ahead and apply.
Yeah, apply. I think they've opened it up now to like people who are attending women-only institutions, HBCU. You said, I think, Latin earlier.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the last bullets said even if you don't attend those institutions, if you're like an underrepresented minority, still apply. So
yeah. Sorry, I just saw the announcement. So, is it 500 people will be in the program this year?
Oh, I don't remember, it was a big amount. They were like,
I think the
really
number is
preparing.
500. Yeah. Okay.
Jeez.
I mean, that's a lot of folks in the program, but it's definitely worth the opportunity, and it's like exposure. Like I intern as a finance major.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience despite the fact that I graduated during the last recession and did not have a finance job waiting for me. Other than that, don't worry about my story. Worry about your story.
All of my internships really opened doors for me. Even the ones that like I didn't know what I was doing or what was going on. Like when I got a job, I was like, okay, I remember that from my internship. I kind of know how to navigate this time. So yeah,
cool. So any advice for folks who are listening about considering getting involved in open source, what they can do?
Ooh, my advice is to first get in contact with the maintainer or a core contributor. Like that really helped me to feel like I belonged and to know like, okay, I know who to ask questions to. I think also what you said about like finding a good first repo, you don't have to go for like the biggest repo that you know of. Like it's okay to go for a small one, and consider non-code contributions as well to get your foot in the door. Like maybe edit some documentation, help with translations or something like that. And don't be scared. Like you might make a mistake, no one's gonna yell at you.
Just change your avatar. If you end up doing a merge conflict, just change your avatar. No one will remember who you are. So there's a trend happening right now where more and more startups are starting with open source first. If you check out any of the batches of YC, you'll see more and more open source companies now submitting applications to YC and getting in. Now, this is a good trend because the scale and velocity of what you can do and grow through open source is off the charts. Now at OpenSauce, we are invigorated by providing actionable insights that OpenSauce.pizza It's a platform to get intelligence on your open source projects. So if you're a company and you're up and coming through either YC or you're a Series A company who's looking to get their next round of funding and grow community, we have the platform for you. If you're interested in growing your project and growing your open source community, definitely check it out and let us know what you think. But I did want to shout out real quick, hotopensauce.pizza is a project that we have currently on our homepage. So if you're looking to explore new projects, we just shipped a new update where you can see the latest projects that are being created. So shout out to Nat Friedman, who has an ML project that showed up on our list very recently. But what projects that are trending as new projects, those are usually the best places to start. Because a lot of times there's no infrastructure. It's not like a lot of people don't know what to do next. And starting in early becomes a place that you could grow with a community.
Yeah. Then you become like a core contributor and a leader within the community. Perfect opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. So appreciate you coming through, having this conversation with me. And folks, if you enjoyed this conversation, follow Black Girl Bites on Twitter, definitely. And check out the GitHub YouTube channel where you actually host Open Source Friday.
Yeah,
so
I inherited that from you.
Yeah, you inherited it from me. I got it started in 2020, and I wanted to hand it off as soon as possible. And when you joined, you got it. So it's a Twitter space and it's live streams.
Yeah, it's a Twitter space and a live stream.
Yeah. So if you follow Black Girl Bites, you'll figure out where it's going on and when.
Yeah. I'll resume in January. We're now on a hiatus.
All right, perfect. All right, I got more people to introduce you to if you're looking for folks.
I'm down. Yeah.
All right, for sure. Folks, hope you enjoyed the show. Like and subscribe and stay saucy.